In this video, we're going to talk about a hierarchy of metrics that you should be tracking for your e-commerce brands. And these are metrics that massive brands like Sunday Red, Liquid Death, and Skull Candy all track, and that's why these brands are so massively successful. And I say that because those are brands that I've personally managed myself in previous agency history, right? And so let's get into it and show you what those specific metrics are, right? So looking at my screen over here, so we have the hierarchy of metrics that you should be tracking per what I mentioned, right? So it starts at the channel metrics. So the channel metrics are the platform metrics. So this is Meta, this is Google, this is TikTok, this is Snapchat, whatever platform that you're marketing on. So those are the specific channel metrics, right? And I'll tell you what those metrics are not. Those metrics do not determine how profitable your business are, how profitable certain products are. It just tells you how a specific campaign or how the specific overall matter is performing. When you look at the specific metrics, those are metrics like return on ad spend, ROAS, right? Because people often misunderstand this metric as like profit, that's like money in a bank account. It's actually not. It just again tells you how well a specific campaign or the whole account is performing, right? So you can track ROAS, you can obviously see how much you're spending on that specific platform. CPM, cost per click, and cost per acquisition are all metrics that are trackable within all of these channels, right? So that's the channel metric. Now, it goes up the hierarchy. The next step in this hierarchy is going to be customer metrics, right? So essentially, the customer metric allows you to understand how profitable new customer acquisition is, or how many new customer are you getting, or are your customer increasing or are they decreasing, right? So within the customer metrics, so you track new customers. Are we getting new customers, right? Are we getting enough new customers? You can also track new customer acquisition, right? What is the cost for us to acquire new customers, right? And then we can also track AMER, so acquisition marketing efficiency, right? So across all the marketing channels that we're advertising on, what is the ratio of our new customer acquisition? And this is simply by taking new customer revenue divided by total spend. It lets you know what that efficiency is. And obviously, are customers coming back and purchasing from us again, or are they not, right? So the next level of this is the business metrics, right? Business metrics is like, okay, how much revenue are we getting total from all our marketing platform or from all our marketing material wise? Order revenue, ad spend, how much are we spending, right? And then MER, marketing efficiency ratio. So how efficient our overall marketing is. And the next thing is average order value, or AOV, right? So these are business metrics, right? And then the most important metric that should be tracked is contribution margin. So contribution margin at the end of the day is essentially profit, how much profit that you're actually making for e-commerce specifically. Contribution margin is essentially, so you have your overall revenue, right? Your order revenue. You subtract that by the COGS, which is essentially the cost of essentially producing the product. You subtract essentially the cost of getting that product to the customer. So which is essentially your shipping fee, in addition to like maybe like pick pack fees or like merchant processing fees. So these are all costs associated with getting that product to the customer. So, and then finally you subtract customer acquisition costs, right? But that is what is going to give you the contribution margin. And I can't tell you how many brands don't actually track the specific metric, right? Now we talked about what these specific metrics is, and then I'll provide you with a dashboard, right, where you can see all these metrics. I'm going to provide you with a way to track all of this, right? So something that we use is called a growth map, right? So it lets us see all of those metrics in one specific place. We don't need to go in the specific place or go there to find these metrics. It's all in one place. So we can see the reality of our business at any particular time of the day, any particular time of the month, right? So we can see all of that. And I can't tell you how important it is to have something like this, because if you're off track per a specific target, you can see exactly how much off track are you, or how you're underperforming relative to what your target is, right? And when you see that information, it allows you to course correct. It allows you to make some form of optimization to get back on track, right? So again, it's very important to have something of this magnitude, right? Because if you don't see where you're going, right, then you will never really get to your destination, type of thing, right? So there's multiple tabs over here. We won't walk through all of this tab, but you will have access to this, and there will be other videos to further explain to you what each specific metric is, and essentially how to extract those metrics within the growth map, right? So we have the over here, the tracker MER. So right now, this is essentially like kind of where we see everything across the board. So we can see this on a specific, this is like an example one. So on a particular month, this is looking at February, we see that actual spend across all our marketing platforms, which is specifically of this account is Meta and Google, we spent $49,856, right? And we can see, so that's the total, and we can see how much we're essentially spending on each specific day of that specific month, right? Now, we also have like projected spend over here and like target spend. We won't get too much into this video, but essentially what that is before the beginning of every single month, we go in and put in our projections, right? We project what we think we're likely to achieve on that particular month, right? And then obviously we track how we're performing against that. So for example, we put in, okay, this is the projected spend for this month, right? And then we see that, okay, so this is the actual spend for this month, right? So, and then it lets us know how far off or on track we are to that specific goal, if that makes sense, right? So then next we have the revenue. We can see that, okay, so in this specific month of February, we generated $209,000 in revenue, right, for this specific brand. And we can see how much revenue is coming in from Shopify each and every single day, right? And again, we can put in our specific projection, right, and our target spend, right? And so as I talked about the most important metrics based upon like the hierarchy that I showed you guys earlier, contribution margin, we can see contribution margin on a daily basis, which is crazy, in addition to contribution margin, like your total contribution margin for that specific month. So on every single day, you can see, are we actually making money or are we not making money? If we're not making money, like something needs to change, obviously, right? So this is contribution margin. Again, one of the things that we look at, like the main thing that we look at every single day, not to say that the other one doesn't matter, but the main thing is contribution margin. This is actually the profit, right? And so we also talked about MER, which is like marketing efficiency ratio, right? So 4.21 marketing efficiency ratio says like, okay, our marketing is pretty efficient for this specific brand, right? And we can see how marketing efficiency ratio is pulled in every single day, right? And we can also see acquisition marketing efficiency ratio. So now this is just new customer efficiency, right? And we can see that each and every single day. So this was a 2.73 acquisition marketing efficiency ratio, right? And then the next thing that we can see over here, we have like Facebook data. Right, we can see how like Meta is performing for us. So on Meta, we spent $20,196.84, right? And we can see that the ROAS for that specific platform was a 4.39 return on ad spend, right? And we can see how we're performing each and every single day. We can see like the specific trends for each and every single day, right? So this gives us an idea of like, okay, so how like where we trending to be based upon like ROAS for Meta. Right. The same thing for Google, right? We can see that we spend $19,805.80 for Google, right? It's a little bit more than Meta, but Google is typically a more profitable channel for us, right? Now we can see that, okay, Google's like the actual ROAS for Google is a 5.52, right? And we actually had a projection of a 6.16, right? So this is again telling you how much we're spending, what is the efficiency on that specific platform, and then we also talked about what is new orders, right? So how many new orders are we actually receiving each and every single day, right? And so we can see what the total new orders that we receive on a specific month. Next thing you see is the total new order revenue. Okay, again, these are very important metrics that we need to be tracking. So what is the new order revenue on each and every single day, right? The same thing over here, we have returning orders, right? Returning orders and then returning order revenue. So we can see that we have 559 returning orders, and we can see that the returning order revenue is $62,000 essentially in returning order revenue, right? So I explained the importance of having something like this so you can see each and every single day within like your whole organization, right? So again, like you have like new order revenue, returning order revenue, and these are all things that you can predict or you can forecast at the beginning or before the beginning of every single month, right? And then you can track how you're performing against that, right? So the next thing that we have over here, is a tracker for Google. So as I mentioned before, so we have a different tab that is tracking all of the Google campaigns. So we can see how all our campaigns on Google are performing, right? And it's also broken down to specific like Google campaign type. So like we have PMAX, we have Google search, and we have demand gen, and we also have like videos, right? So for this specific account, we're only doing Performance Max and search, and we can see that, okay, cool, we spent $25,000 in Performance Max in the month of February, and then with a return on ad spend of 4.02, okay, that's pretty good. And then for search, we spent $2,236 on search with a 3.55 return on ad spend for search, right? And we can see that total spend on Google was $19,805, right? And then if we scroll all the way to the right over here, we can see campaign buckets. So campaign buckets are essentially all the campaigns that we're running on Google. And then again, for what I said, we project how much we want to be spending on this specific campaigns, and the revenue. How much we want to be spending on each specific campaign, and the return on ad spend that we essentially want to get from each specific campaign. So we project all of that before the beginning of the month. Again, so you can see all the campaigns that we're running on Google, and you can see how each one of them are performing each and every single day. And then we can also see how we're performing relative to how much we have projected, right? So it keeps our media buyer at the agency, so like it keeps our Google media buyer on track. They'll come in here, they'll look, okay, cool. So this is what we projected. It looks like we're on track. So not much needs to be done. But if we're off track based upon how much we have projected, okay, cool. That means that we need to change strategy a little bit. We need to make some optimization in the Google account, whether it's like changing bid strategy or decreasing spend on some specific campaign, or just cutting some specific campaigns all entirely, right? So there's different optimization strategy that can be done to actually get back on track. So that's Google. So the next thing that we have, similar to Google, we also have Meta, right? We can see how much we spent on Meta, which was $20,196 in the month of February, right? And we can also see all the campaign buckets that we have running on Meta. Same strategy, same concept over here. Okay, so this is what the actual spend is. This is how much we have projected this in terms of spend, and this is how much we have projected in terms of ROAS, and then this is the actual spend over here, right? It keeps us accountable to how we want each campaign to be performing. Same thing for another campaign bucket over here. So this is Daba campaign. So, okay, how much do we spend in the month of February relative to how much we have projected, and how much ROAS, or what's the ROAS that we got, how much to the relative to the ROAS that we have projected. So we do this across every campaign, and making sure that like each spend that we allocate out in the market is being spent like appropriately, right? So we're not wasting spend across any campaign. If a campaign is inefficient, we need to do some optimization to get it back on track, right? So we're tracking all of that. Now, if you have other platforms such as like TikTok, Snapchat, or whatever the platform, so you can also connect this to the growth map, right? And for what I mentioned before, you're gonna get instructions, essentially how to pull in the data into this growth map, so you can also track that for your company, and you can also have obviously different people within your organization kind of on this specific map or growth map, so you can see how each department is performing or each channel is performing relative to the target, or if you just want to see how they're performing on a daily basis, so you can see the trend and make optimization from there. So this is the growth map, and we talked about the metrics that we want to be tracking, right, on that specific hierarchy, right? So that's going to conclude the video for this section.